Hello everybody and welcome to another video. So in this video we're going to be talking about one of the most important parts of the old world, and that is army construction, how it differs from the other systems that Games Workshop do, and some of the pitfalls that you might find as well, and generally for new players sort of navigate you through that sort of really daunting page in your army book. So get a brew, get comfortable, and let's jump. Alright, so army construction, it's the main thing that you're going to do once you've picked your faction, you've bought your starter models, you've got everything built, and you want to get on the table and start playing some games of Warhammer the Old World. So where do you start? So the first thing is you're either going to have one of these, your Arcane Journal, or you're going to have either one of the big books, the Ravaging Hordes, or the Fantasies, the Realms of Fantasy, and they'll have your army list in there. Every army will have one. Now the big blue books will be your main source of these. This is generally what you're going to do. Unless you're playing Grand Cathay, which is what we're going to be using in this video as an example. But if you are using one of the Arcane Journals, be aware that they are slightly tweaked to sort of fit the theme and the narrative aspect of that army that is featured in the Arcane Journal. What I'll do is I'll grab one of the books and we can go through how one of them sort of differs later on in the video. So first things first, get your book. Now I'm going to bring up the Grand Cathay now up on the screen, and we're going to go through it. And some of the things that I do, and I've been doing this for years, because one of the things you'll find that the old world doesn't have is it doesn't really have an online app army builder thing. Now I believe there may be Battlescribe. I don't really use Battlescribe. I use my army builder for Age of Sigmar and 40k, but the old world doesn't have one of them. So it's classic pen and paper and a bit of a calculator, and you're going to write everything down and old school, because it's an old school game. So let's do some old school army building. So what I'm going to do is switch the camera and then we'll have a look at the army composition. Okay, so this is our Grand Cathay Grand Army composition list. Now pretty much all of the armies are going to look like this, and you will see straight away, if you've come from games like 40k or Age of Sigmar, how very different this is straight away. Now you're not filling in slots kind of like you are on the Horus Heresy, where you take a detachment, you fill in the boxes, and you get to take that detachment and then unlocks other detachments, and yeah, you need a spreadsheet for it. Or whereas Route 40k, you take a character, you can add that character to a unit, and then you can have like the rule of 3, or battle line units, you can only have a maximum of 6. And Age of Sigmar is a little bit more nuanced to that one. You'll have different regiments that can be unlocked from different characters. Yeah, it's a bit of a minefield. This one is a little bit easier, although on first look at it, it can be a little bit daunting. Now, one of the things that I like to do straight away is, on the top of my piece of paper, I like to write down my percentages of my points. So, as an example, if I'm playing a 2,000 point army, I know that up to 1,000 points of that I can spend on characters. As you can see, it says characters, up to 50% of your army's point values may be spent on, and then you have your list of options. So I know straight away, characters, 50% of 1,000 points I have to play with. Then my core, this is where it's slightly worded differently. At least 25% of your army's point values must be spent on, and then your core choices. So I have core, and then I have 500 points. So the minimum I have to make my army legal is 500 points of core units, which is either going to be for me, Jade Warriors, or Jade Lancers. Okay. Then for the special, it's up to 50%. So again, up to 1,000 points can be spent on special units. My rare, up to 25% of my points can be spent on rare units. So again, 500 points. And then mercenaries, up to 20% of your armies may be spent on mercenaries. Now, I'm not really bothered about mercenaries, so I'm just going to ignore that. And allies, up to 25% of your army's points may be spent on a single allied contingent drawn from one of the following grand armies. Now, again, a lot of your armies will have this. Now, in the box below on the right-hand side, you'll see Battle Standard and Cathian allies. Now, these are little special rules that your army gets when it comes to creating your army. Now, the Battle Standard is a little bit different depending on the armies. So likes of the Bretonnians, they won't be paying points for their battle standard, whereas Grand Cathay armies, we're going to be paying 25 points for one of our heroes to be able to take a banner. So pretty self-explanatory. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into the character section. So looking down into the character section a little bit more, I know that I've got 1,000 points to play with here. So in this, I can only take these options. So I've got 0 to 1 Cathayan dragons. Now, there is only one Cathayan dragon in the army book, and that is basically Mao Ying. So per 1,000 points. So per 1,000 points, I can have a Cathayan dragon, which means that if I was playing a 2,000 point game and I had the ability to bring 2 of them, so if I had Mao Ying and one of her brothers, I would be able to field 2 dragons in a 2,000 point army so 1 per 1,000 points. Now, the Genin Lord or the Lord Magistrate, and the Lord Magistrate comes from the airship, the Sky Lantern. I can have 1 of them per 1,000 points. So basically, the Shungen Lord, which is this sort of dragony character flying around, I can have 1 of these per 1,000 points. So in a 2,000 point army, I can have 2 of these in my army, which is pretty good because they're relatively cheap. Then after that, I can have a Shogun, a Gate Master, a Gatekeeper, and the Strategist. So these are the generic characters that I can have in my army to bolster out of that 1,000 point allotment. Now for the core, again, it's up to 25%. So I've got 500 points minimum to be able to be made up of Jade Warriors, or 0 to 1 units of Jade Lancers per 1,000 points may be taken as a core choice. Now, that means that I'm going to have at least 1 unit in for 1,000 points, and then if you're playing a 2,000 point game, you can get 2 units of Jade Lancers. If you're playing a 3,000 point game, you can get 3 units. So it kind of stops you from doing the all cavalry list, essentially. All right. Now, the specials, again, you've got a lot of little options here. So again, my specials is I've got Jade Lancers here, and there's no restriction on my Jade Lancers this time in my special contingent. So I can have 1 unit as Jade Lancers in my core per 1,000 points, and then I can have as many Jade Lancers as I want in my special section, up to 50%, so up to 1,000 points. But they're counting as my specials, which then kind of eats into other allotments as well, because if we look down further on, 0 to 3 war machines chosen from the list per 1,000 points. So out of all of that 1,000 points, out of my 2,000 point list, if I'm going to bring more Jade Lancers as special units, I'm going to lose the ability to take lots of grand cannons. Also, if your general is a Shuriken Lord or a Shuriken, 0 to 1 Cathay Sentinels may be taken as a special choice. If your general is a Lord Magistrate or Strategist, 0 to 1 Sky Lantern may be taken as a special choice. So some of your rare units are now able to be taken into your special units, depending on who is your army general. And this then goes nicely into your rares, which is up to 25%. So only 500 points of your army can be done for this. You've got your Sky Lanterns or your Sentinels. Now, Sky Lanterns are super cheap. They're 130 points. And so, which is kind of cool. Sentinels are a little bit more expensive, like 230 points before you really start getting in the upgrades. But you can kind of see how that's going to work. And then you've got, obviously, your allies up to 25 points. But you are going to need that army list and anything else. Now, at the bottom here, in where it says the Cathayan allies, which I've unfortunately kind of cut on the photo, you do have a couple of additional options. I will read that now for you. You basically, armies of using wood elves, high elves, grander army composition list may include an allied contingent drawn from the Grand Cathay army composition list as suspicious allies. So if you're playing wood elves or high elves, you're going to be able to bring some Grand Cathay into your army, which is kind of cool. But yeah, that's essentially how to build an army. And so what I generally do is, like I said, I write down those lists, those little allotments, and then I'll basically go through it. Now, bearing in mind that yes, you paying for the units, the points for the units, but then you have all of the additional options that you have on top of those units. So likes of your lords are going to have like 1,000 points of magical artifacts or items, which is either going to be your weapons, your armors, your trinkets, your little talismans, your enhancements, your shields, all of that good stuff. If you've got a hero that's been given a battle standard bearer for 25 points, you're then going to have to pay an additional 40 odd points, maybe more, for a certain banner, which is all in your army list. And then you've got your little options as well. Your units can have upgrades like that as well. Yeah, so you can see how the points are going to ramp up really, really, really quickly for your army. So the best thing to do is kind of work on your general, write all of the stuff down that you want your general to have a good idea of what you want your general to do on the battlefield. So especially for Grand Cathay, you have your Shingen Lords. You've got basically the choice of two. You can have a combat monster, or you can go for more of a magic support character. You can have a hybrid of both if you really want to, but you're going to spend a lot of points doing that. So it's kind of best that the fact that you're able to have two is to kind of sort of go into one or the other. Especially with your other foot heroes and everything else, your army may be the same. So likes of Bretonians, you want to take a Duke or a Baron, you want to put him on a Royal Pegasus, and you just want to make him an out-and-out monster killer. You can give him a magical weapon that has Monster Slayer on it, and he just rides around finding dragons and big monsters and just kicking the crap out of them. And that is his entire job. Where you can have another hero, a Paladin or a lesser hero mounted on a Royal Pegasus with the big standard, flying around, giving the units around him that necessary support that he gives, and kind of keeping everything sort of tied in, while your big boss man is just rolling around killing whatever he can get his hands on. You can kind of do the same thing with most of the armies, to the point. Although if you're playing dwarfs, you're not really going to do that, because you're going to be moving 4 inches, so he ain't moving around getting shit because he's small and slow. But anything that gets anywhere near him, he's going to absolutely wreck face. So you've got all the options. So build your lord, and then pick the lesser heroes that you want, and have a good idea of, right, I want my general to be a real kick-ass general. I want this character to be a supporting character. So as an example, I have a Gatemaster mounted on a horse. And I've built that model with a banner, so I plan on having that as my standard bearer, battle standard, in my unit of Jade Lancers. So, and there's a nice banner there that'll make them cause fear and all of this kind of stuff. So it's kind of a nice unit of shock cavalry that's going to be able to go in and hit hard, and also cause fear and scare the GBs out of people as well, which is really, really kind of cool. Where then I have my other hero from the kit on foot, and he is going to be basically tooled up to basically be a bit of a beat stick, and he'll be in a unit of Jade Warriors. So you can kind of see how you can sort of really sort of delve into that. So yeah, so in the next video, let me know what else you want. Now, I have had a lot of requests that people want a faction explained for the legacy lists, for the legacy factions, so things like Skaven, Ogres, Dark Eldar, also Dark Eldar, Dark Elves, and Lizardmen and them ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that video, and I'll do that video for the people that want to look at the legacies. Now, there are legacy documents by GW. We can have a little look at them if you want. Let me know in the comments below if that's something that you'd like me to do. And then there is the Renegade fan-made, unofficial sort of update for them, done by Squarebase, which you can use if you really want to. It really depends on how you and your gaming group feel about fan-made sort of documentations for your games. I myself prefer anything that's from GW that's official, because then I know it's from them directly, and it coincides with the system. That's just me. I'm a little bit old school in that regard. So yeah. So let me know what you want to do. So, but I will do the faction for the legacy factions, and then we can maybe look at sort of some other videos regarding the old world as well. So that's the video. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, share, and all of that good stuff. But most importantly, please subscribe. The channel is really ramping up to nearly 4,500 subscribers, which is mental. Every time I see it, it's just crazy. And, you know, maybe one day I might become a GW shill, which would be pretty epic. And I would never, ever put content behind a paywall that I've been received for free. They don't call me one of those channels. In fact, no, I will probably try to give back to you guys, my supporters, in better ways. But that's the video. I'll catch you all in the next one. Goodbye for now.